Hey there, my name is Pravus. Welcome back to more IXION aboard the Tiqqun space station. In Chapter 3 with the Theta Crucis system, we have just managed to outmaneuver the storm. We deliberately finished up a few points of interest with the intention of moving the storm along, and then braved across over here so we can get into a safe area. The storm should not come back. So from here on out, if we can finish out some of these events, we should be safe from this, and eventually, by completing enough, the storm will go on its merry way, and we'll be free to go wherever we're going to need. It did cause some serious damage, though. We kind of have a fire raging in a few spots. I'm trying to build up a fire station to deal with that. Didn't really anticipate that happening. Should have remembered that could happen, but oh well. I think we're ultimately going to be okay. It's just, obviously a little bit scary. No one likes seeing a fire on a spaceship with limited oxygen. Let's take a look at some of these events. We have a medical district wreckage that was set up over here. Ruins, doctors. We have arrived at the site. We estimate that 2/3 of the district is missing. Remnants of cooling pipes have generated a haze that hangs above the debris and hides the floating corpses of the Itamanaki crew. We have identified 2 viable areas for investigation, a research facility and a medical core. I guess we can start with the medical district. I don't think it matters too much, though I might be wrong. And then there's also the habitation sector. We entered the wreckage. Many mutilated bodies and cryopods float in the void, and able to pinpoint the exact area of unusual readings. Well, there's only one option. It's recovering the floating cryopods. Kind of wish I had another docking bay, if I'm honest. I could really use a lot more ships. But you know what? Once we're done with some of these events and stuff, these ships will just get docked up again. We can go back down to 1. And that'll end up being fine. So in the medical district, we find several times during the investigation we had to clear away debris. Violent clashes appear to have taken place across the district. It seems that even before the attack, the medical capacity at Itamanaki was oversubscribed. Recovered data suggests that congestion within the ship's care centers worsened over time. We did find some science and cryopods. Now we're going to investigate that research facility. While we're waiting on this, let's remind everyone that in this chapter, we do have a couple of objectives now. We have to get 2,000 cryonic pods opened up, and that means that I really need a population center. That is absolutely crucial for us. I also want to build up some countermeasures for the, whatever that was called, the Piranesi, that's it, the Piranesi ship. The black market ship that appears to have killed the UN. That's going to be a little bit dangerous for us, obviously. So those are 2 big objectives for me. We found more cryopods, 795. The recovery area is horrifying. Body parts float here are mostly from civilians. The dwellings within the habitation sector look more like slums than real housing. Yeah, extreme population density, disease, and malnutrition. We're going to push deeper into the structure and find out what else is here. Did we manage to put out the fires over here? We did. All right, cool. 10 people working this thing, huh? Well, we shouldn't need this anymore, so we'll go ahead and turn the fire station off. We're still waking some people up. And that should be okay. Population-wise, we're looking solid. For now, I guess I can turn you off. We do have to open up a 4th sector. And I very much intend on having a 4th sector over here that is purely for population purposes. Lots of stability stacked up in one area, tons of housing, and we'll be able to wake up specifically workers using the policies. What else do we find at the medical sites? Let's see, more resilient materials and alloys than other parts of the ship. Internal hardware does seem to have been laser cut and ripped out. Our team was able to extract some information from few remaining data consoles. A sealed stasis box was discovered containing what can be described as a test subject. Having reviewed associated research reports, the team believed that the experiment used Ashtingite technology and genetic material taken from charred leaves. Subject ZY6073, as named on the outside of the stasis box, appears to be alive, but dormant. All right, I'm going to go ahead and retrieve this. Now, I know that this can lead to some bad stuff. When we get it back to the Tiqqun, we have to sterilize it, not open it. Otherwise, people are going to die. Back to the habitation module, making progress has been difficult. Constructed from a range of very strong alloys. Yeah, that seems to be a theme now. Precarious cave around us. 2 paths onward are possible. We could pass through a large section of pipe that's been laser cut. Temperature analysis of the cuts indicate they happened some time ago. Alternatively, there is a reinforced tunnel leading away from here. Its side covered in bullet holes. I'm pretty sure all of these come to a similar result, but some give more science than others. And I'm pretty sure, believe it or not, the 2-cycle one is the best. I don't remember exactly if that's true, but something in my notes is suggesting that that one is the best in terms of getting some science. I think it's like 70 science as opposed to 60 for one of the other ones, etc. Or we're going to find out in just a little bit. Now, unfortunately, opening up the stasis box, or just retrieving it, created kind of a bit of a problem. A whole bunch of people are dead. It appears to have put on one of the team's suits and has boarded the Heisenberg. Our science ship is on its way back to us after having killed all of the crew. Yeah, that's upsetting. I guess we are going to allow it to return to the Tiqqun. But, there's more that has to be done here. So here's the event, right in this area, all right? So we must decide how to proceed. We are going to use sterilization protocols and exterminate it. We could neutralize it with the help of the crew, but I'm pretty sure it manages to kill like another 10 or 12 people. So we're going to use the sterilization protocols. It's been destroyed. We get 15 science. Yes, we lost 5 people, and that's awful, but such is the price of doing business, I guess. Anyway, we got our ship back, though. The Heisenberg has a new crew aboard, and we can go back to the medical district wreckage and just collect some of that science. Speaking of science, we're really not doing much with it. Let's go to the workshop and let's get the risk foresight, which lowers the chances of power surges creating accidents. That will also lead to things where we can upgrade, let's say, the fire station, so we can get some upgrades there, etc. Anything that reduces accidents is just, in my book, always going to be a very good thing. Now, what is this? I just saw something pop up about finding some countermeasures. What do we find in the sector? While walking through the tunnel, we activated a trap, presumably left by Itamanaki defense forces. A deluge of debris fell from above, yet fortunately our suit exoskeletons allowed us to avoid fatalities. There was no sign of any Itamanaki survivors, and the end of the tunnel was littered with the corpses of soldiers killed by cutting laser. Exiting the tunnel, we found a small shelter cobbled together from surrounding debris, and within it, a number of broken drones, shaped like deep-sea creatures, float in the lack of gravity. They bear the BMS logo of the Black Market Society, and this is the first time we've seen machines like these. We have transmitted schematics and data and proposed further analysis of the drones to be conducted back aboard the Tiqqun. Within a small recess at the back of the shelter, we found the corpse of an Itamanaki soldier with a now-spent breathing device. He had tried to modify one of the broken drones to produce an improvised heat source. He's been dead for several days. Days? Only days? The weak radio signal was transmitting from their suit's emergency beacon. We assume an attempt to contact other survivors. We get an event. Agents of Death. All right, we can afford to leave the ruins here, and the storm retreats a bit further. I love that the music of this game is just getting scarier and scarier. It's like, why? You know? It's like needlessly dramatic, I would say. Anyway, we're at the depressurized R&D district. This seems like fun. This is the crew of the Heisenberg. The section of the wreckage is massive. We believe its remains of a research and development district. Laboratories look virtually destroyed, but we did find an intact security room, Orn 8. We will need power from the Tiqqun. Got it. I'm pretty sure that this is an incredibly important area for us. We will be moving the Tiqqun station over here at some point to make sure that we're able to open this sucker up. There's something incredibly powerful in here for us. But you'll see. Don't need to spoil the surprise. Let's see what's at this ruin over here, a ruined docking bay. It's apparently been turned into Swiss cheese without very much debris, weirdly enough. There's a docking port and a communications area. Pretty sure we can afford to do the communication area first, and that the intact docking bay is going to lead to some new stuff. So not in any huge rush there. R&D district here is done. What remains is a shapeless metal. Children appear to have been locked in housing structures where adults turn to improvised weaponry to fight against the unknown aggressor. There's apparently some cool tech here. Right, well, that's not exactly what I'm looking for. Let's search the laboratories. We do now have enough data to analyze the Piernesi's drones. The associated research project can be launched in the tech lab, and then we can use that to reduce the impact of their drones on the Tiqqun. Well, that's a bit of an ominous foreshadowing. Let's go ahead and start moving the Tiqqun over in this direction. It's going to take 1.4 cycles, which means it's going to line up pretty much perfectly with where I need it to be. Skip this movement over there. Boom. All right. And we're not in any danger for doing this because the storm is, gone. Just going to continue passing on this way. All right. Anyway, over here, 50 more science, another 820. Cryopods. Yeah, I mean, we're not hurting for cryopods. If we want to get the 2,000 for our goal, we'll be able to do that. Let's open up the Orn 8 security room with the power supplied by the Tiqqun station. 3 more cycles. And then over here, let's see, a theater of atrocities. I mean, these are just depressing. The UN crew discovered that the messages they are sending and receiving via devices and hardware have been tampered with. The falsification of information caused a cascading series of accidents and prompted the move to a new comm system. Something was hacking or mimicking the Itamananki's communication protocols perfectly. Well, that should be terrifying. What's inside the docking port? Let's see. A massive debris, blah, blah, blah. Came under heavy projectile fire and tore open the hole, breaching the protective plating. We discovered an impact unexploded BMS missile. If we analyze this sucker, we can probably learn more about how the BMS attacks. Yeah, there's a lot of different things you could do with this, but I'm pretty sure defusing the missile is supposed to be the best option here. Otherwise, there's a very good chance that it explodes and blows up your ship in transit. We don't like that. So, yeah, defusing is your friend. And what do we find over here at the R&D district? We get something awesome. It's called the Orn-8 PA upgrade. Scattered files on the floor of the security room containing warnings about prohibited nature of what was stored in the area beyond. And then there's a bunch of Dolos cryopods, which, you know, it's just my comrades. Numerous data disks filled with scientific information were also discovered. Incredible value. So that's all we need here, which means the storm's about to retreat even further away. We can gather up all this science. Over in, was it the tech lab where we're able to get this? There it is, over here. Research costs for upgrades reduced by 10%. I have a lot more upgrades to do. So this just makes my science go a bit further, and I've got a lot of it sitting around. Please tell me I am not wrong about the diffusing of this thing. Good, okay. So, ready for extraction, 15 science, new event, I missile you. I missile you? That's hilarious. Storm goes by even further. At this point, we've almost got full access to the star system once again. One more of these events should be all it takes, and then we don't ever have to think about it. With that tech upgraded and making everything cheaper, what I can do now is increase research speed, and by getting all the way down to high-risk experimentation, which admittedly is expensive, we can get computing optimization, which gets me 5 science units every 3 cycles instead of 5. Another big boost to passive science generation. And here's the thing about Chapter 3. We're going to be here a while, guys. We're going to be here a while because this really is just a massive, massive sector for us to do. But not a lot happens. That's the problem with Chapter 3. Once you get rid of the storm and you investigate most of the points of interest, there's not an absolute ton to do. Let's get up over here to Crook P51. What do we find over here? Our probe registered some interesting data. Let's see. Semi-liquid environments, tremendous pressure. Okay, I think the only thing you really don't want to do is an intrusive analysis because, well, people are going to die. So instead, we're going to go ahead and supply a bunch of alloys for an analysis infrastructure because it costs a lot, which probably means we're going to get a really, really good reward. And besides, it's not like I don't have plenty of alloys to go around. I mean, I'm rolling in so many resources right now. Like, I don't want to say we're invincible because, you know, pride cometh before the fall, but, like, we're fine. We're rolling in it. I've researched all of this stuff down here. Let's go for that computing optimization for only 40 more science. I've got 415 sitting around right now. My God. Yeah. We're just going to start generating tons of science in addition to everything else. Not that we're having a lot of issues, though. We've been discovering so much science. We've been fine. P51, the Myers site rewards me with 40 science out of the arrangement. Okay, we could conduct some further tests. I don't think that's a problem. So we'll go ahead and do that. Did find another planet down over here, P43. There should be at least a couple more in this general area as well. And as soon as we're done with this, I think the storm is out of the way. We could consider starting up a colonization effort sometime soon. That wouldn't be a bad idea. What do we find out about that bacteria? Let's see. They live inside a geyser's tube. Smaller groups do exist externally that appear to have been excluded. Samples from within the geyser reveal an organized society that is not only able to propagate other types of bacteria, but can also use what is described as tools exchanged via vesicular transfer. Fascinating. They respond to some stimuli and stuff. This is a monumental undertaking as a single human cycle corresponds to several hundreds of theirs. An intelligent and aware bacterial species. Yeah, that sounds great and all. I think we have a lot of reasons to be concerned, though. I'm trying to remember if this does result in death or not. I feel like it does. I feel like if we actually authorize the transportation and bring aboard some samples, we're going to lose the ship. Could be wrong on that. For now, let's gather up the science, and let me confer with my notes. Oh, you take notes in a game like this? Yes, I do. In fact, I want to make sure that I give you guys some helpful information. I know a lot of people are following along and they want to see this played well, especially since this game was declared too hard, but so far we're doing just fine and dandy. Anyway, confirmed, if you bring this, you'll lose everything. So we're going to say, nope, we may have found some semi-intelligent bacteria, but we don't want none of it. Bye. And that, by the way, is the electric storm officially out of the way entirely. No problem at all. We have arrived at P43. Let's see, it's a volcanic planet by the looks of things. Once again, a corrosive atmosphere. Recommend using detonation charges. Yeah, sure, why not? This is probably fine. The explosion was larger than expected, revealing a huge system of subterranean tunnels. Despite the relevant instability in the area, they identified a passageway to an anomaly. Oh god, it's another gray sphere. We've seen these things before, and they're terrifying. I think someone actually sent me an email, which, by the way, please don't do that, but someone sent me an email saying this might be some sort of a, I think it was a Warhammer 40k reference. You might know better than me. I have no idea. So the question is, which of these do we want to do? We can only do 2 out of the 3. This one gives the most science, but you lose a crew member by the end of it. These ones are safe, but again, only can do 2 out of the 3, otherwise everyone dies. I'm gonna take the 50 science, I think, and accept that I'm gonna lose a single crew member. It sucks, obviously, but, I mean, I'm gonna have to wake up like 2,000 more people. We're not gonna be hurting for crews sometime soon. So, let's see, there's the 50 science I was talking about, which is beautiful. The sphere repels anyone or anything that gets too close to it, as if it were a magnet repelling another. According to our readers, the sphere is composed of multiple layers, a gaseous layer, then a sedimentary layer underneath, and then within that, a strong electromagnetic field that degasses the surface. Fascinating. All right, I think the next strongest one is the concentric circles. By the way, over here in Sector 6, I did build up the other 2 remaining waste treatment centers. Not necessarily because I need them right now, though we do. We're actually getting very much capped out on some waste right now. But mainly because it's going to unlock the specialization, which if I turn this on real quick, we can take a look at it. So now I have the industry and the recycling specialization, 30% more resources. Yay! What do we get for this next one over here? Another 40 science, excellent. And we are not doing this one. I am going to leave the planet, and there goes 1 crew member. Okay, well, he leaped onto the sphere. He was not repelled, he was sucked in. Yeah, that's terrifying. I'm knocking out a bunch of random little researches here and there to try to make some things easier. I know designed instruction will give us a lot of upgrades for some ships. I don't think I care about any of this right now. We could go ahead and start unlocking things like the health center, which, by the way, is also discounted. So one of the reasons going for that R&D center is so gosh dang helpful. So yeah, let's go ahead and start prepping for our 4th sector. I think it's kind of time that we do this. So over here at this sector, let's override the locks. It's going to cost me some electronics, food, people, blah, blah, blah. Used to all that. As far as where the people are going to come from, that's kind of a trickier proposition, because I might have to shut a few things down, because we don't have quite enough population. I'll go ahead and start preemptively opening up a lot more of these pods, though. In fact, it might be worth upgrading the controlled thermal shock in order to speed this process up, because I'm going to have a very brief window of time where I'm not going to have enough workers to go around for all of my jobs between all of these sectors. I've been trying not to open up any more than necessary, but we're doing that now. I did, by the way, research the intelligent design here, which is going to boost up our food production. We could boost it even further. This also is going to lead to a couple other upgrades elsewhere. I think the mess hall will eventually be able to, feed more people per 1 unit of food. So those 2 techs are going to stretch our food by a really substantial margin. And there's the sector. Okay, and as before, it is a very, very cluttered mess. Okay, we have our DLS center. First thing we will do is go for the propaganda. We'll also want to go for the waste recycling so we can store that all up. Once we have a load of these quarters set up, we're going to produce tons and tons and tons of waste. Something we could do, which actually would synergize really well with all of this, is actually to set up another food district right inside of here, right? Get a tier 1 specialization, because as a reminder over here, the specialization means that we are producing, taking up less water, but also we are producing more waste. That would apply for the residences as well. And lots of waste translates into ridiculous amounts of materials if we have the recycling centers. And we do. The only problem with the arrangement is we would also need to get ourselves a fusion cycle or something over here as well. I really don't want to have to get myself a fusion plant in order to get some more ice melted. We could do it, though. If we don't want to do that, we could set up a whole mess of insect farms. It's not exactly the most effective thing, but we could do it. Also, mushroom walls. I mean, that's also a thing. These, believe it or not, synergize as recycling buildings. If we place a bunch of mushroom walls and recycling buildings together, you can do a food and recycling center specialization, and they also synergize pretty well. I'm thinking a sector like this should work very, very efficiently. This is the perfect amount of space for 2 full sets of farms, not to mention we have some insect farms if necessary to kick us over a little bit. I even have a little cell housing if I want some extra population. Fits amongst all the batteries that I should need to get up to my 5 cycles plus. And I even still have a load of space down over here if I want to toss on something like, let's say, an extra docking bay, which actually is not even a bad plan, because extra docking would mean that I can have some ships that are dedicated just to picking up things like ice, bringing it into this sector and the one adjacent, and I can have the other ones focused on just gathering up industrial resources like iron, carbon, and silicon. I like this idea. Honestly, this is going to be a very effective sector for us. Now, with all that said, I'm not in a huge rush to get this sector filled out because it's going to take me a long time to get the policies up and running to really take advantage of the cryonics. So for now, I'm going to send some research to work on things we know we need to fulfill our mission objective, which is namely to get some countermeasures against the Piranesi. So we'll learn how to analyze their Drets and their missiles. But otherwise, we're just playing the economic game for a bit longer. I did just unlock the algae farm, which unfortunately does take up more space, and all of a sudden, what was a brilliant setup no longer works quite as well as it would have. Let me think about this for a second, because maybe I need to rearrange a couple things here. Honestly, this is going to sound really counterintuitive, but I don't know if the algae farms are a good investment for me. So, I don't think they take as much water to produce very significant amounts of food. But we're also going to end up producing way more food than I'm going to end up needing. And weirdly enough, I would prefer to be inefficient so that I have crop farms running all the time to generate more waste so that I can fuel the rest of my economy. It doesn't make a lick of sense, but I actually think that might be the correct play. Did find another planet over here, P41. Might as well go check that one out. On this world, we have landed near Site 0, protected from aluminum rain. Good lord. Formation. Yeah, I think I just go ahead and investigate the formation. There is a telluric formation of circular in shape with steep sides, metaphysical and psychological aberrations. Appears to have removed their protective helmet, convinced the air in the tunnel was breathable. His lifespan is estimated to be 37 minutes. Yeah, we do not want to do this Naomi protocol. I know this gets people killed. We could, I think, continue the exploration, but only with strict psychological monitoring. I've also got some extra ships to run around, so tell you what, we'll say ice is a top priority. Beyond that, probably the iron, and then kind of anything else you can get your hands on. I might dedicate one of these ships specifically for picking up cryopods, though, now that we're getting this sector set up. I'm literally just waiting for this policy. Once I have this, I'll start transporting a load of people over here. Lots of ships snaking around over here. I do want to point out we have another button, by the way. Activate missile countermeasure. Yeah, that's going to come important later, isn't it? Do you get anything good over here? Yes, we get another 40 science, but no one dies. Perfect. And no, we are not doing this. Leave the planet. Okay, so this one's going to hurt in terms of our stability, but it's okay. Cryopod awakening, workers first. That's what we're doing here. Stability is going to go into the negative, but my trust is still strong, so all I have to do is build up a couple things over here, like the Alternative Life Center or the Lunaclism Memorial, and we'll be fine. Okay, we've got a bunch more people over here. Here come the cryonic pods. Let's turn this on, turn this on. We should still barely be right here. Perfect. And now we've got cryo centers working over there. We can turn this one off. I no longer care if we actually have any of these pods stored here, so we'll probably start mass transiting these guys over this way. But now we should be waking up loads and loads and loads of workers. So this should solve my last big bottleneck in the game, which is basically just having lots and lots of people. I mean, we're pretty stretched thin across all sectors, but right now we're mostly in good shape. Well, I say that. We need to get a few people over here, but we're mostly in really good shape. Now I can just skyrocket my population and start working toward that 2,000 cryopod goal, which is still ridiculous, by the way, I'm just gonna say. Arrived at another planet over here, P37. Let's see, there's a crater named Desolation. Oh, that's just charming, isn't it? Made of glass-like substance, probably obsidian, and the crater's rim is razor sharp. Do not do the intrusive analysis. I don't even think that these necessarily are that important. What really matters right now is analyzing the impact area. I think this would get you science, but I think this might give you even more. And it doesn't cost me the time and the alloys to set up. So let's go for that one first and see if that works. Okay, that got me 20 science, and this should lead to a follow-on event. You want to excavate an object manually. This is the one we're going for. I don't recommend the other ones, so let's give this one a go. I'm pretty sure the first one can, like, literally get some people killed. And we do get 40 more science out of this, but here's the real kicker. All right, so we managed to extract the object named Freeman. It's badly damaged, artificial, and cylindrical construct made of an unknown alloy. It appears to be basically a giant gun containing a nuclear charge that we've carefully deactivated. The Piranesi's main weapon. Fun. Now we can establish some infrastructure. Apparently, it guides a massive gluon beam. Okay. So, it must be recovering after a massive burst of power. That means our enemy might actually be somewhat vulnerable. Good to know. I have researched the technology to build up a nuclear power plant, which you can see is a fairly large structure. What this really does, though, is it just produces 10 more power per cycle. It takes hydrogen, but hey, you get some cool stuff. I was considering working on the research that's going to reduce the cost of this thing by a lot, like 40%, but now that I've put the science into it, I kind of think I regret it. I think I'd rather send the science elsewhere to something else that could be helpful for me. How about we move toward... Let's go ahead and research that whole temple thing. I don't know. Maybe at some point that ends up being useful, but yeah, I'm questioning whether I'm ever going to have a real justification to build this. 300 gosh dang alloys... plus a load of workers for only 10 extra power? I mean, there may come a point where I can't literally get enough power out of solar stuff. That's totally possible, but dang, dude, it seems like a really costly endeavor. All right, so we've dropped off all the alloys, and now we found out this used to be a gas giant, which is fascinating, but that's another 65 science for us. Beautiful. Science ship arrives at the reactor. Shouldn't matter too much how we do this one, if I recall correctly. We arrived at a site. There's 3 places of interest: the thrusters, engine room, and supervision area. Let's start with the thrusters. Looks like there were 2 different sorts of propulsion, and sure enough, gluon particles showing that it was damaged. All right, let's inspect the engine room. Here we find that there was not support for a PA or a basic AI on their engines. Okay, the crew members could work waist deep in coolant, some dying while performing their tasks. Seems that the UN wasn't really that good, if I'm honest. They seem like kind of terrible people. And here's another 50 science plus 168 cargo pods. Pirating. Relevant data has been sent. Let's see, there was an author, the BMS. So this is just kind of telling us stuff we already knew about hacking attempts, which is kind of upsetting, but you know, oh well. Let's gather up that science, and then let's actually go ahead and start prepping for a colonization effort. I probably should have started this a lot sooner, but I kind of forgot this existed. Well, at this point, I've been recording for over 3 hours, and really nothing new is going to happen here. I just have to be gradually opening up more of these cryopods. I do have a second cryonic center to try and speed some of this up, but it's only going to be able to do me so much. Fitting 2,000 additional people on this ship alone is actually going to be quite challenging. I do have all of the power requirements met, so we're ready to fight against the enemy, the BMS, but I just have to wait for a stupid number of cryonic pods to be done. And that's going to take a long time, where ideally nothing new and exciting is going to happen except for the colonization effort, and you've already seen how that works. It's just a way of generating a bit of extra science and stuff, which is cool, but really not super duper important or exciting. Let's go for another booster in my cryonics, just so we can get these guys out of here a little bit faster. I don't really know. So I'm going to jump forward in the next episode until we are at such a point where I'm ready to leave this system and begin Chapter 4. All right? Normally I like to end a chapter in a video, but we're going to begin Chapter 4 in the next video, and I'll just play through this all on my own time, because I suspect this is going to take at least another 3 or so hours, which isn't very fun. But you know what? That's just how it be right now. So thank you all very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. If so, I would ask that you hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, make sure you hit that notify bell, and I will see you guys next time.